I think it's an extremely radical proposition and show, although it's very entertaining and feel good and inviting. But actually for a group of people in their average age 80s to be learning from two profoundly deaf people, life skills, communication skills, facial expression, whole body use is extraordinary. You don't see that.
Rose Ayling Ellis is on a mission.
Not being able to hear and understand what people are saying are really, really frustrating. And believe me, I know that very well.
Hello. You keep turning it up, don't you?
It can make you feel really isolated, really lonely and cut off, and that is not good for your health. But there is a solution for people with a hearing loss.
Can Rose teach old hands new tricks?
I remember when I first got the call from James Rogan, who set up Rogan Productions, and he said, we want to do this show with Rose Ayling Ellis and older people. She wants to teach them sign language. And my mouth, I didn't know what to say. He was waiting for me to be enthusiastic. And like inside, I was thinking, that's absolutely impossible. I love all programming around older people, but it tends not to rate. You add into the mix that they're learning a really hard language with a different syntax. And then you add Rose in the mix and it's like fairy dust because she is so loved. And even though there was pushback from the older members of the community, or some of them just saying, I'm too old to learn, there was something about her being in the community that just galvanised everyone.
Okay.
No.
No. Why?
Because I'm too old.
Too old.
Well, I think what was really important was to include the moment when the resident was saying we don't want to learn to sign, because it's actually true. It's authentic. A lot of people don't want to sign, and a lot of people say it's not for me, or I'm not interested, or I'm too old to learn. And we thought it was really important to show all those different thought patterns and the challenges that were there, and we're challenging them at the same time. You know, if we're saying you think you can't, well, you can. You definitely can, and that's why it's so important to keep that in.
It was funny too.
Yeah.
It was funny because Rose was expecting it to be a walk in the park, and it wasn't. She said she had never been so nervous in front of any audience, and it showed.
Her love of BSL started when she was a child.
But I think we were expecting a lot more pushback and a lot more hurdles than there actually were. Our residents were so on board and they were so enthusiastic about being part of it. Not only did it work, it exceeded all expectations.
The biggest challenge was their diaries.
Oh,
they
gosh,
were
yeah.
extremely busy.
Yes.
Like, bit too busy to come and do a TV show. So we had to twist their arm a bit.
We had to twist their arm a bit, and there were, you know...
Canasta, bingo,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
including TX.
Yeah,
they
yeah.
said,
Yeah.
problem, Got bingo that night.
We
So,
were- yeah.
I don't think they'll be watching on catch-up.
Four, five.
I would say that something Rose is doing is she's creating a space for BSL programming on mainstream TV. In a way, anything Rose does is attracting a big, look at this, it's on BBC One, 9 o'clock. And that's terrific, you know, and I would hope that over the course of the next 5 years, that just becomes the norm.
I think Rose and I, both being born deaf, we've got lived experience of deafness. We don't know any difference. But I think it's interesting when you meet people every day, there is a bit of fear, there's a taboo around hearing loss. It's the unspoken thing, isn't it? So I think what was really important about this programme and why Rose and I wanted to be involved is to just show that this is the truth, this is the epidemic. You know, the World Health Organisation say it's going to be a huge increase in the number of people who are going to lose their hearing. And I think people who are watching this programme might have lost their hearing, maybe their parents have lost their hearing, maybe it's partners, friends. All of us has some experience of hearing loss, ourselves included. And I felt that it was so important to introduce sign language as a tool, because we use sign language every day as our sort of management tactic. So really, people will suffer from hearing loss. It's so important to include them because it can be the magic wand. It doesn't cure deafness, but it will make your lives easier having learnt sign language.
Rose needs to recruit one of the best teachers in the country, Marius Costi. He's also one of the most colourful.
When you added that
Marius.
shirtless photo of him in the series, that's just made me chuckle.
Yeah, I'm so glad. We asked you to ask him if he was okay with that going in.
He was okay with it.
Because we were okay with it, yeah. I mean, that's how he promotes himself.
He loves it.
Just to say, yeah, he was like, yeah, I don't mind being naked in six-pack on television, yeah.
And actually, the BBC came back to us with a note saying, I'm not sure we would promote a female teacher like that with a bikini photo or something. And we said, yeah, but this is Marius. Yeah, it's a special case.
Yeah.
Anyway,
The residents loved him.
Oh hell yeah. They loved him.
Yeah, and I think what was so interesting about Marius is I'm really pleased we brought him on board. Because, you know, he could have been scary because he's a full BSL user without his voice. So that could have frightened them, specifically for the older residents. But, you know, maybe fixed with the old-fashioned views of deafness. But it could have put them off. They could have been put off. So it was somewhat of a risk, but actually we really fought for him. We knew he had style quality, the charisma that he has, you know. And what happened is, over time, they actually forgot the fact that he didn't speak. They just connected with him, human to human. Personality he has is infectious. And I think, you know, all the students have inside jokes with him, the banter that was going on in the classroom. And I think at the end of the day, what was so important was the learning time was fun. And that is why they retained their sign language. That's why they learnt how they did, because it was fun. They woke up every day wanting to learn, and that was because of Marius. And I'm hoping that the audience who are watching this be like, oh, actually, you don't need to sign and speak regardless. It's about the person, it's not the deafness.
And there was one student who, as we know, sadly passed away, and she was quite ill during filming, more than we knew about. And she turned up every day. And not only did she turn up every day and do it, she was really good as well. Yeah. And again, yeah, it's the buy-in of also just loving Rose, and Marius is also just a star in himself and all of that.
I think one moment for me which gave me goosebumps was when I was just walking around the village and I saw a group that was signing to each other. There was no cameras, there was no deaf people, they were just signing to each other, and it just really shows that actually sign language is infectious, you know, and as a deaf person walking around, I could communicate with anyone there, you know, which was really, really lovely. You know, it was deaf utopia by the end. It really was.
It's changed this community forever. It has 100% changed this community.
Rose went wanting to offer this tool to people with hearing loss. What surprised her was that there were two very keen students, one who was partially sighted and one who'd had a brain injury. So neither of those were in her catchment area that she had envisaged. And I would say that she took particular interest in both of those because she wanted to make sure that the class was fully accessible for the woman who had a visual impairment. With the woman with the brain injury, she had difficulty forming words. Because it had affected her frontal lobes and her, you know, the part of her brain where speech is formed. And she was really hoping that BSL would help her with communication. And without giving anything away, it really does, but particularly when she switches her voice off and just signs. And that was particularly moving to Marius, who's a native BSL speaker, and to Rose, who also loves to just sign. She's encouraged to speak because she can, but she loves turning her voice off.
Yeah, I mean, Rose uses the analogy, tapping your head, rubbing your stomach. I can't actually do it, but it's doing two things at once. Like today, I've decided not to speak. You know, and it's hard speaking and signing, processing two languages at the same time. So the woman resident with the brain injury, when she made that decision to switch that voice off, is less pressure for her and less pressure for Rose as well. And Rose felt, you know, the pressure of having to be bilingual, having to speak and sign at the same time. So both of them shared that experience together, which was perfect. It was saying, you know, when the residents made that decision to turn her voice off, it becomes completely fluid in her sign language. It was just...
And incredibly moving.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a dry eye, yeah.
Goose pimples.
There was a beautiful moment where we like, turn off your voice, just do the sign, don't think about your voice, because the voice is what's frustrating her. And I've seen that, I experienced that. That's why I struggle to speak and sign at the same time. It's hard, it's not easy.
For me, I would like to make more of these programs and have a bilingual, have a huge swathe of bilingual productions, so that we don't have to talk about them being this thing anymore. And I know this completely takes away what we're doing right now. It would be nice to one day have in this industry co-productions that are bilingual, and it not to be something we still have to promote and talk about. And I think Camilla would agree, Rose would agree, Maris would agree that that would be the end goal achievement. And I think bit by bit we are seeing things shift slightly. We are seeing more deaf productions. I mean, when we were filming, we couldn't get interpreters because they'd all gone to another production. The tide is shifting.
I think for me, there's no excuse to not learn sign language. Simple as that. If you're 80, 90, I think our oldest resident was 95. You know, if they can learn, anybody can learn. So simple as that.
What do you say to people who say that phrase, I'm too old to learn?
You're not. I mean, I don't, the proof is in the pudding. Like, they proved to themselves that no one is too old to learn anything. Society makes you think that once you get to retirement age, you're old, you're past it, just go and wither away somewhere. And it's no, not at all. Like, you can still absolutely live a full life. You can still learn new things. You can totally embrace new challenges. It's possible. They made it possible.